We're continuing a BIS-MAS Christmas by taking a look at your fan-submitted MOCs on the show where we spotlight MOCs from across the Bionicle community. So hopefully what you see today can give you a little bit of inspiration. But let's dive into the very first MOC. It's called Atlas, and it's by So as the builder states, this is a LEGO version of a playable character from the game Warframe. And he says he's been obsessing over the game recently, and he decided he wanted to build a MOC based off of one of the characters on there, but they really wanted to play around with LEGO Studio, the digital design program that exists where you can build MOCs digitally. And they thought, I've never really used it before, so this is a good opportunity to do so. And I like that notion. I hadn't used LEGO Studio for ages and then decided to play around with it one day, and it was actually a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I always like building physically because to me it's just a more enjoyable experience, and to be honest, it still is. But playing around on Studio was a very different way of building and still really fun, so if you haven't messed around with it, maybe the next MOC you build, you could play around with Studio. Anyway, they did a very good job at capturing the original source material for this MOC. The tunic, or this kind of coat thing on the torso, is probably one of my favorite parts of this build. I love how they've used these gold bracket pieces to achieve the look of the gold lines. We can see it here on that original source material. It's a great way of replicating that look. Also, this torso's fun. It's great to see that they've included a little dark red crab in the center of the torso, and they've also got some dark red croissants just next to it there to add a little bit of extra detail. Some very clever part uses there. These gauntlet weapons are very nice too, using some of those minifigure hands to convey the spikes that are once again seen on the original there. And I always love gauntlet-style weapons like this. It's a great look. I've never played Warframe, so I'm sure this is accurate to the game. But hey, if you're just looking for a cool weapon on one of your MOCs, maybe some kind of gauntlet weapon like this, it's a good look. Oh, and this boot design is wonderful as well, using that relatively new curved arch piece there to achieve the very distinct look of these shoes. Wonderful design. Up next, we've got Nirak the Visorak Overlord, and this is built by Nemesis Chungus. This is really fun. While this isn't a direct revamp of the original Visorak set, it's nice to see them take the ideas and the basic build of the Visorak and kind of pump it up to 11 and make it look way cooler. The fact that this has a lot more kind of silver highlights and different spikes and things on it, it reminds me of the Pokemon Mega Houndoom. When he Mega Evolves, he basically just gets more spikes and looks a lot cooler and a little bit bigger as well, if I'm correct there. He certainly looks bigger anyway. So it's nice to see that essentially the same thing was done here. And I love the idea of revamping a classic character and literally just making them bigger, slapping on heaps more details, adding a new color to the color scheme, and kind of just making the best version possible. In previous episodes I've spoken about revamps that just little subtle upgrades or reimagining it with newer pieces or giving it a new sort of design style. But there's nothing wrong with going a little bit over the top and slapping heaps of stuff on, making them bigger, better, and more badass. I like the fact that there's a little bit of blue tubing running through the body and the legs at the front of the MOC here. It's a nice little highlight of color, and I think the vibe of it fits very well with the biological and mechanical hybrid that is Bionicle. It also makes sense since the Visorak are known for their venom. I'm sure there's venom coursing through those tubes there. Now, I also enjoy how modified the back design is here. Of course, the original set, the back had room for the silver spinner. You pull the black cord out and the disc goes flying off. But on this version, well, I guess they've kind of done away with that, but they still have something that sort of resembles the original idea. They've built a little system disc and placed spikes over the top of it, so it continues the spiky look that runs across the front of the head, and now it's leading towards the back as well. So it's nice to, kind of remove the gap that's naturally in that area and buff it up a little bit, but still have a few callbacks to the original at the same time. Really solid work on this one. But let's move over to the next MOC. This is Firelord, and it's built by Test4227. Now, the color blocking here creates a quite unique aesthetic. So they've got trans orange as a base layer, but then on top of all of the trans orange, we've got gold armor. So to me, it looks like this is a being that's made out of fire, but they've got gold armor over the top of their fiery body. That's just the vibe I get anyway. But hey, if you want a similar aesthetic, all it took was very careful and deliberate placement of the different colored pieces. Now, I adore this torso design as well. The way they've used the Protector of Fire mask and then kind of just embedded it into the torso to, create a nice little waist design. To me, the dual tone coloration of that piece, it really makes it look like there are flames burning inside of the torso. It's a good look. There's also some lovely weapons here, and it's just great to see an ornate, pretty looking shield design. I do love my shield designs. Oh, and this MOC is easily 1,000 times cooler because it's using Akimu's mask, which is probably the coolest ever mask design. At least in my opinion, but you gotta admit it's pretty cool. Alright, the next MOC now is Jonah and the Scrimshawed God by Benjamin Anderson. Some very unique presentation on this creation. It's not every day that you see some beautiful layered storytelling going on with I guess you would call this a little diorama more so than a solo character build like we often see on this show. So nice to see something a little bit refreshing and different. Now, there's some lovely editing going on here to make it look like the Scrimshawed God is some kind of apparition, the way that the base of the character build here sort of fades away. It's good, and it works with the story. The story on this MOC, by the way, I'll read what it says on Flickr here. It says the following. Whaling may be an ancient outlawed practice, but the Scrimshawed God demands appeasement with the bones of his domain. From carcasses thrown back out to the sea to drown under sun and storm, the bones and the teeth of leviathans will be remade into adornments for his followers. With every fragile engraving added, his power grows absolute. So yeah, a unique story, and they've certainly captured it very well. I think one of my favorite details here is the water. It is just scattered Lego pieces that aren't actually connected in any way. But the various shades of blue, it's nice to see the variation there. The colors kind of really reflect different waves or the ebbs and flows of the water. It works. The texture of the whale also looks perfect, and the shaping of the tail, it's spot on. Although the poor whale, whaling's not cool, but hey, the made-up story in this, the unique presentation, the cool techniques, we can like that. So hey, next time you build a MOC, maybe do something a little bit like this, build a little kind of diorama to go with it, and maybe tell a bit of a story with everything that's there. It's really cool. The next MOC is Thrash, and it's built by Virtual Vahi. A party rock slicer with a guitar. I love that. Now, he's even got some hair flowing down the back of his head. It's good fun. Now, it's always a bit of a pleasure to see a slicer MOC get a little bit of love, or just slicer pieces getting some love. They are surprisingly old these days, so seeing anyone build with them is a treat. And seeing people combine slicer pieces with modern pieces is also very lovely. Now, I especially enjoy seeing these old Mutter hand pieces used for this hand design. It's a great look. It worked on Tahu, it worked on other slicer sets as well, and it's nice to see it revisited here with some more modern pieces to give it more articulated fingers. So yeah, despite its age, it looks wonderful. Oh, and then we got a solid little guitar design and what looks to be a pretty nice and posable build. A lot to love here. The next MOC is Onua, Toa of the Party, built by Rubelax MOCs S. What a wonderful take on Onua, turning him into a party bro. Yes. I always love seeing MOCs like this. The fact that the name as well, it's Onua, Toa of the Party. When you have a Toa, they have an elemental power, like it's Tahu, Toa of Fire, Liwa, Toa of Air. But this guy's Toa of the Party, which obviously isn't an element, but honestly, I really like MOCs that just don't take themselves seriously and veer off in weird directions like this and dip more into the real world instead of the Bionicle world. I love the Bionicle world, I love the lore, I love all of that stuff, but it's good to see MOCs that don't take themselves seriously because they're really fun. And yeah, these custom glasses and the little flower on his head, they work so well in conjunction with Onua G2's mask. It's just a perfect fit. It's really strange how perfect it is as well. It's just cool. The bare chest with these big pecs and then, having him have some blue board shorts. It all just communicates so much about his attitude, their lifestyle, the personality of Party Onua. It's perfect. Plus, the overall build and the muscular look of him, it's a perfect match to how he looks in G2 Bionicle sets. So I think that's also what makes this such an effective translation and a good fit for the character. The little drink accessory that they've got with the little umbrella, that's great. And the sandals are also brilliant. You can see his little toes, the fact he's also got one big toe and then all the other toes are smaller. That's some wonderful attention to detail. Now, looking back at the pants, the inclusion of those blue triangle flag pieces up the top, perfect. That piece really helps blend the legs into the crotch and also blend it up into the upper torso, and it helps cover up lots of different gaps. I think that's something else that makes me love this MOC so much, it just has such incredible shaping. They've really replicated human anatomy very well, and they've done it in such a smooth and seamless manner. Everything's so organic, so good, and there's very few gaps. I love it. So that's it for some fan-submitted MOCs today. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to see some of your own MOCs on a BIS-MAS Christmas episode or any other episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series, you can submit them through the submission email that's currently on your screen right now. Put whatever you think is important into that email, send it my way, and I'll do my best to feature it in a future episode. And if you enjoyed all the mocks that you saw in today's episode, be sure to check the links in the description below and see some of the other wonderful builds that these builders have built. My social media links are in the description as well, so you can check that out whenever you can. Thank you so much, guys. Happy building, and bye for now.